Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with me, your host, Owen James, a channel that brings you your team every single day, and we don't even charge you for the privilege. That's crazy, isn't it? Crazy. We don't charge you. It's free. Free content, guys. No Netflix here. No Amazon Prime. No, Patreon. No hiding behind our content, behind a paywall and saying give us $4.50 or $2.50 a month and we won't, or else we won't let you see it. No, it's all free, guys. All you got to do, smash the sub. Come on board. Airwolf, how are you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. Do you know what, Airwolf? I've got to say, Airwolf was one of my favourite shows as a kid. Absolutely loved Airwolf. Absolutely top show. As my Labrador comes in after being outside and he's wet and muddy. I mean, God knows what he's been doing. Anyway, Airwolf, Hamza has been worth the wait. Shame someone he said Rangers don't buy projects. He has been. Yes, he certainly has. He's certainly seemingly starting to come good, isn't he? Evening to William as well. Good evening, Janet. Good evening to CJNI, all the way from Northern Ireland. Nice to actually watch Rangers at the moment with two up front. Absolutely, Oldo. Good evening, Andrew. How are we all? How are we all feeling this evening? How's everything out there in Rangers land? How's the how are we all feeling, guys? It's been a change, hasn't it? It's been a bit of a change the last few games. A bit of a pleasure actually watching the team rather than I don't know, it's kind of been a bit of a duty, bit of a well, you know what, we've got to watch them because we love them, and you know what, as much when you love someone, even if you don't really like what they're doing and the way they're being with you is a bit, you still watch them, don't you? You still take part. Even if your kids' football team shit, you still go and watch them. It's just how it is. But we've seen Rangers here today win again. Another win. 3-0. Airwolf says, would rest players midweek. Winning cup would be a bit of redemption for Clermont. We're certainly going to get to that conversation for definite. Big test is the final. Hope they show up. Absolutely. It's good not having your weekend ruined. And you know what? Even in the last few weekends where we've kind of, when we've won and we've kind of been boring, haven't we? Even those 1-0s, we just kind of sat there and gone, this is shit. This is awful. This is genuinely chronic. It really genuinely is. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Janet says here, good to see same two games in a row, except for one change. Hagi is making a difference. Hagi's making a massive difference. I mean, if we just talk a little bit about, the form of Rangers in the last 5 games, has been pretty phenomenal form. In the last 5 games that we've played. Domestically, this is just domestically. Our record domestically is this: we've played 5, won 4, lost none, drawn 1, scored 12, conceded only 1 goal domestically. So domestically, we're actually doing quite well. 12 goals in 5 games. Just under 3 goals a game. Looking pretty decent there. If you take the last 5 games in all competitions, it looks even better, to be honest with you. The last 5 games in all competitions looks even better. Let me just share this with you. In the last 5 games, we are played 5, won 4, lost none, drawn 1, scored 15. We've gone from going along at a goal a game to now going along at 3 goals a game. So, it's been pretty amazing, the form that we're in at this moment in time. Very nice form indeed. Now, if you just take, for instance, and you compare that with Celtic and their last 5 games, I think you'll actually be quite surprised at this, in terms of the difference between the 2 records, between our record and their record. This is Celtic's record in the last 5 games. They've played 5, won 4, lost none, drawn 1, 14 for, 2 against. Their record, our record and their record is very, very similar indeed. There is very little difference in the record in all competitions, and that's including their draws in the Champions League against Club Brugge. But if you look at that, we've actually got a slightly better record in the fact we've scored 1 more goal than them in the last 5 games. They're averaging under 3 goals a game. We're averaging just over 3 goals a game. I mean, that's pretty good, isn't it? Pretty good in terms of comparisons. I mean, Aberdeen, if you take Aberdeen, for instance, they are on proper skid row. Played 5, won none, lost 2, drawn 3, scored 6 and got 8 against. So Aberdeen are pretty much sliding away as we speak. And the table coming out of this weekend looks like this. Celtic top on 43 points. Aberdeen, haven't played a game more than Celtic and Rangers, sit second on 34 points. Rangers sit third on 32 points. Dundee United fourth on 24. Motherwell fifth on 22. I mean, we win that game in hand, we go above Aberdeen. But I don't want to kind of say that, wow, well done, we've gone above Aberdeen. That's nothing. You know, at the end of the day, it isn't about finishing second, is it, in this league? It really isn't about finishing second in this league. It's about winning this league, isn't it? Absolutely about winning this league. Let's get to some of your comments now before we move on and talk about some of the bits. I want to talk a bit of Hamza. I want to talk a bit of Souttar. I want to talk about Danilo. I want to talk Hagi. And I want to talk a little bit about what we're seeing at the moment from Rangers. So, Aldo says Spurs blew a 2-0 lead. Yeah, they did. They were 2-0 up at home against Chelsea, and they managed to blow it, absolutely blow it. Now, I've got to say, Andrew says we put Spurs to bed Thursday. We can get Big Ange sacked. Imagine. I mean, I've got to say, you know, Andrew and Aldo, you're very correct. I mean, not only did they put a 2-goal lead down today, Spurs currently sit 11th in the Premier League, which, you know, for a lot of Spurs fans is utterly unacceptable to be sitting that low down in the league. And you know, if you look at Spurs, you know, their last few games, and obviously we'll look a bit more in depth at these at this, and we're doing an opposition preview leading up to the game. They've lost, I mean, their last 5 games, their form is not great at all. I mean, yeah, they beat Man City 4-0, but everyone's beating Man City at the moment. Man City are pretty poor at the moment. But they drew 2-2 with Roma in the Europa League. They drew 1-1 with Fulham. They lost 1-0 to Bournemouth. Now they've lost 4-3 to Chelsea today. Heung-min Son with a 96-minute goal. But if you look at the table, Premier League table, Spurs are down in 11th this season. Played 15, won 6, drawn 2. So he lost, drawn 2, lost 7. They've scored 31 and conceded 19. I've got to say, you know, living down here in England, you obviously get a lot of Premier League coverage. And I've got to say, you know, Big Ange is under a hell of a lot of pressure down there. And the Spurs fans already calling for him to be sacked. And yes, Andrew, I think, you know, if they come up to Ibrox on Thursday and were to be beaten by Rangers, I think the pressure may well get all too much for Spurs board and Spurs fans, and you may well see Big Ange getting the sack. And there'd be look, as much as I don't like seeing anyone lose their job, you know, at the end of the day, you've got a situation where I think, you know, getting Big Ange sacked and getting him kicked out would be a bit of a bit of karma in a way for what happened to Celtic. Anyway, fire youth team out against Spurs. Save the best team for next week, says CJ. Dessers is like Origi at LFC, good off the bench but awful at starting. True. Don't start Dessers in the final. I've got to say, I agree. I don't see how he can, although. I mean, if you look at the team over the last 2 games, mate, and you look at how we've performed over those last 2 games, you know, with Danilo, well, last 2.5 games, if you take the second half against Dundee United, with Danilo and Igaman up front, we've looked so much more impressive. So I genuinely don't see how we can go back to Dessers in the final. I don't think that is at all an option for me. Sid, good evening. Sid, how are you doing? Hello from Toronto. Geordie says, brilliant game today. Good to see Igaman and Danilo get on the score sheet again. Is this maybe the turn we have been waiting for? Could well be. Kelly, Tav, Yilmaz, Proper, King, Dio, Dowell, Bairami, Dessers, Fraser, McCausland, my team on Thursday. So definitely playing a game, yeah, definitely playing a weakened team there, Airwolf. Good evening, Owen. Good evening, Rangers for Life. How are you? How are you doing? How are you doing? Sorry, my daughter's just been absolute nightmares at the moment. Anyway, yeah, so yeah. Who is cup tied on for Spurs on Thursday? I'm not quite sure, or not in the Europa League, so I'm not quite sure. But, you know, we do know that we've obviously got no Hagi and no Danilo, you know, in the team on Thursday. That's a big thing. I'm good, Rangers for Life. How are you? Absolutely. Yeah, that would be funny, Geordie, wouldn't it? That would be very, very funny indeed. So let's have a look. Dessers can have a real full 90 against. I don't really care. Yeah, we don't really care. Look, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think there will be some players rested on Thursday night because obviously, you know, Danilo can't start, Hagi can't start. I honestly can't see Clement, you know, resting too many players on Thursday night. I really genuinely can't see that happening. I think, you know, he's still committed to the Europa League. He's still committed to winning games in the Europa League. So I don't genuinely think that he will rest too many players in that Europa League game. As for what the team will look like on Thursday night, you know, obviously without Hagi and without that lot, I think it'll look something like this. Butland in goal. I think he'll start Sterling ahead of Tav, the rest Tav. We'll discuss Tav. I don't really want to talk about Tav versus Celtic at this moment in time. We'll get to that. We'll certainly get to that one. Souttar, Proper, I think, will come back in. He seems to like Proper in the European games and Balogun in the domestic games, which I kind of get that a little bit. That's actually, you know, to give Clement some credit for a change, I think that's quite smart, really, because if you look at Proper, his style, his way of playing does suit European football. But I do genuinely think, you know, that it will be a situation where you know, Proper does come back into the team for that game on Thursday night. Barron and Raskin, I think, will be the midfield holders. I think Diomande will play. Bayrami will play. I think also he'll play with Tierney. Now, the big question on Thursday night will be, who does he start up front? I mean, does he start Dessers or does he start Igerman up front on Thursday night? I think that's going to be the big question. Now, I think for me, it'll be how seriously he's taking it. And knowing Clement and listening to Philippe Clement and listening to what Philippe Clement said the other day in his presser, I honestly think he'll take the game on Thursday night as absolutely seriously as he takes the game on Sunday. Because Clement said in that presser that, you know, we take it one game at a time. We look to win one game at a time. So I honestly think that he will take the game seriously. I don't think that you've got any chance of him sticking at all the, been completely, taking them out of the firing line, putting youth players in there. I'm going to put a poll up. So the poll is, who would you start up front v Spurs? And it's going to be a straight question between two players, because obviously Danilo is not available. I don't think he'll play with two strikers against Spurs because of the fact that it's Spurs and they are just, I mean, let's face it. I mean, be honest now. You look at Spurs, you look at their team, and you've got a situation where, you know, some of their players are just worth, as bad as they are at times, some of their players are just worth insane amounts of money. They are just worth absolutely insane amounts of money. I mean, if you take Spurs and their squad value, now remember, obviously, I know Transfer Market gets a lot of you arguing over squad values, but I just want to go over this. What Transfer Market says Spurs team value is. So Spurs team value on Transfer Market currently sits at, let's have a look at it, 788 million euro. So 708 million euro more than we are worth. I mean, that is just testimony to that. I mean, you look at some of the players they signed. I mean, this summer they spent 35 million on Vicario, 65 million on Romero, 55 million on Van der Ven, 25 million on Dragusin, 45 million on Udogi, 45 million on Porro, 25 million on Archie Gray. This summer, they've spent an insane amount of money. I mean, they have spent a lot of money, and I think, that's their squad. These are their squad values. I mean, you go to even to their strikers. I mean, you look at their strikers. Hyung Sun Min, 45 million. Brennan Johnson, 48 million. Dominic Solanke, 45 million. Richarlison, 35 million. I mean, and we've got players worth 35 million pounds who can't even get in the team there. I mean, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So I think a lot does depend on how seriously Clement takes Thursday. And I think he'll take it ultra seriously. I think he'll probably go with Hamza up top. I think he'll start Hamza up top against Spurs and bring Dessers on. So Aldo says Dessers. Sid says play Bayrami up front. Interesting call there. Dessers, Defo, Hamza keeping for the final. Dessers with Igman out left. I mean, that's interesting. He might do that. Hamza and Danilo need to continue playing. Janet, they can't play together on Thursday. That's the only thing, because obviously Danilo is not in the European squad. I agree with that, Sid. Dessers is too slow and predictable. Hamza with Bayrami for Thursday. Solanke was shit with Bournemouth when winning with us. He was pretty much, wasn't he? At 35 million cost. We could have had Solanke 4 seasons ago, lol, and he went for all that money in the summer. He went for a huge amount of money in the summer, an absolute crazy amount of money. And he's not actually proved himself at all. But yeah, it is insane, isn't it? I mean, it is insane how much their squad's worth. And I mean, looking at the poll at the moment, you've got 75% of you have voted for Hamza, 25% for Cyril Dessers at this moment in time. But look, I honestly think that Clement will probably take that game as seriously as he takes most games, because he was very clear in what he said, in his presser, that every game is important, that we take each game a game at a time, and it's all about, it's all about looking at it in terms of winning every single game and building a momentum, building confidence. So, I mean, I think a lot of it will be that, if we can come off the back of Thursday night and win or get a good result against Spurs, a team that's, that, as Clement said himself post-match, we shouldn't really be competing with, because financially they're light years ahead of us. They're £708 million worth, or €708 million ahead of us. Absolutely fantastic. Pole dancing is for... Why are we talking about pole dancing, guys? Any clue why we're talking about pole dancing? Interesting. Look, it would be easy today, coming out of today's game, to talk about Hamza, to talk about Igaman, to talk about Danilo, to talk about Hagi, to talk about those players. But I want to start off by talking about someone... Absolutely, Derek. Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about John Souttar, okay? That's a great point. And we're going to come to that, actually. This team will be judged in the cup final. Simple. I mean, I agree with you on that one. Look, we will come to that, Stuart. We're certainly going to get to that point shortly on the pod tonight. But let's talk a little bit about John Souttar. I've got to say, in the last 5 games, John Souttar has been absolutely superb. He really has been absolutely excellent. He's held it together at the back to there. He's been brilliant. He's just a quality player. And I honestly have been so impressed with John Souttar in the last 5. He's held the defence together. He's got stuck in. He's put his body in the way. He's brought the ball out from the back very impressively. He's just seemed a very, very, very good player. I honestly believe he's kind of maturing into being a real Rangers leader. And look, as much as I love Jack Butland, and I do certainly love Jack, I mean, he pulled up an absolutely fantastic save today. I genuinely believe myself that you should never have a captain as a goalkeeper, because I don't think they can influence the game as much from that position. So for me, I would love to see John Souttar as captain. I think he's definitely maturing into a leader. He's maturing into the type of player who you can really depend on. He's staying fit. He's certainly looking every bit the top player. So I honestly believe that John Souttar is someone that I think should get a lot of praise, not only for his performance today, but his performance in the last 5 games. And he's certainly come on an awful lot. I think it's very, very good indeed. Alex Campbell says, what's the point of fans turning up at Ibrox if we're talking about a free hit to admire Ange ball? Agree. Spurs are dreadful at corners. They don't defend the back post. It's a shame we haven't scored a corner in 150 corners, though, isn't it, Daddy? Perhaps Thursday night we can finally break our duck on corners, maybe. Need to get down the sides against Spurs. Yeah, I mean, that's a good shout. Wonder if that's the most goals ever scored by our Rangers ladies today. Could well be. I'm good, Stephen. How are you doing tonight, buddy? Good to have you here. Yeah, Ange won't be there Thursday. I honestly think that, going back to what we did today, I mean, I think, like I said, John Souttar today, a real leader on the park. Not only through how he conducts himself on the park, and you look at him and he's shouting, he's yelling, he's getting defenders in line, he's keeping the back 4 together. He's kind of taken over the Goldson role from that aspect of being a bit of a leader and a communicator at the back. But unlike Connor Goldson, John Souttar's actually got some talent and ability there to defend. He puts his body on the line, he tackles well, he brings it out from the back well, he distributes the ball well, and he doesn't try and play massively ambitious 30, 40 yard passes like Goldson did, because he knows he can't do that. So he brings it out, he gives it short. And I think that shows, the maturity of the man. And I've got to say, I'm really impressed with John Souttar in the last 5 games. He's been absolute quality. The quality balls in from Tav on the corner was simple to see. Let's touch on Hamza anyway. Hamza, for me, is kind of starting to mature into being a top talent. He really is. And I think it comes back to what was said at the start of the season. by Clement and Coppen, that if we waited until next season, we probably couldn't have afforded Hamza Igman. And we're starting to see a little bit why, we couldn't have afforded Hamza Igman. The guy looks quality. The guy looks, really, really good. If you look at his stats coming into, out this weekend, he's done really well, and he's really started to grow. Now he's actually played more games than I actually thought he would have played. I actually didn't think he'd have played this many games, but I think you've got to remember a lot of these were sub appearances. But Hamza's played 15. He's got 4 goals, 1 assist, which on the face of it might not look all that impressive. That five goal assist in 15 games, every 3 games, but. In the last few games, you're starting to see so much more from Hamza Igman. He certainly looks a player, doesn't he? He certainly looks a player. He certainly is growing up. He certainly is, turning into the top players. If you look at it, he, in terms of what he does that's different to Dessers, and what he does that's different in summary of kind of him is he links up the play exceptionally well. He really does hold the ball up well. His movement is good. He's not a static target up there. If you watch Hamza play, he's in the middle. He's on the right. He's on the left. He's all over the place. He gets everywhere, doesn't he? He really does get everywhere. And that movement is absolutely. You kind of can include both of them in this, but Hamza and Danilo, their movement is a big part of what their success is. It really is. If you're playing against a low block, if you're coming up against teams that, I do, Janet. I do think he's a lot better. If he plays Thursday well and the cup final well, Hamza will be on the radar. Might not him for long. Yeah, that's a good shout, Airwolf. I think the way he's developing and maturing, you're looking at a possibility that 12, 18 months down the line, he's going to be getting interest from English clubs. English clubs are going to come looking at him, watching him, and he looks a player. He's got a Morelos-esque feel about him. He really has. And you look at his strengths and his qualities. Like I said, the movement is a big thing. Now, when you come up against low blocks or against defensive teams, one of your big things is movement. Now, if you've got strikers that just stand up there, like Dessers does, against that back four and doesn't move, doesn't create space, just stays very static, tries to hold the ball but tries to turn away from the player that's marking him, you slow the game down, you lose the ball a lot. You don't create space for the midfielders. You don't create space for any attackers. But what you do with Hamza and Danilo is by that movement, by that constant, Hamza goes left, Hamza goes right, Danilo does the same. You therefore start to sow seeds of doubt in the defender's mind. So the defender stood there going, right, there's my man. I'm a central defender. I'm picking up Hamza. Oh shit, he's gone right now. Do I go with him or do I pass him on? What do I do? What do I do? Too late. You've probably been beaten by that point. The same for Danilo. He moves into centre, so you go right. I've got him. He moves to the left. You suddenly go right. Okay, I'm gonna track him. So I track him, and then I leave a big gap for someone to run into. So the movement is key, and I think what's really helped Rangers start to look like a team and play the way that Clement perhaps wants them to play is that movement up front, and the fact that strikers don't stay still. They constantly move all the time, and they constantly create space for others. That their runs take away defenders and create gaps for the 10 to go into, for the wingers to go into, for Czerny to come into, and it makes a huge difference. It really does. And certainly very exciting that when Oscar Cortez returns, that will certainly bring that in. Dado says Goldson lost what pace he had. He certainly did. Would say Hiefte too, as Bournemouth may lose Cortez. Yeah, Kirkes apparently is linked with a move to Liverpool. They're looking to replace Kostas Tsimikas and Andy Robertson. So yeah, absolutely. Balogun is a look, Derek, you're preaching to the converted here. I absolutely love Big Balogun. Absolutely love Big Balogun. Big Balogun was immense today. The way some of those tackles, absolutely. Hagi, Balogun, Souttar, new contracts, please. Yeah, absolutely. He is quality. I love Big Leon. I love Big Leon. But one of the things, again, that Big Leon brings to the team, never mind just to the defence, but to the team, is leadership. Leadership qualities. He's got such leadership qualities, hasn't he? The way that, that he will marshal at the back. He's got the speed to stay with strikers. He's tough in the tackle. He doesn't take any nonsense. He's a proper player, isn't he? I mean, you look at Danilo as well. I think Danilo has made a big difference since he's come back into the team as well. Now, it's worth again mentioning that Danilo has actually only started 7% of games this season. So again, his stats have to be looked at in terms of that. You know, how often has he played? How much has he played? What's he done? So his assists today, he's played 8, 3 goals, 1 assist. So 4 goal contributions in 8, and it's slowly improving and slowly getting better. It really genuinely is. So, you've got to say, overall, those 2 strikers are making a huge difference to this team. Stuart Allison says, Hagi has been the difference. He opens up defences and is more positive. Look, I want to talk about Hagi in a minute. We'll certainly get to Hagi next. That is my next topic to talk about, is Janis Hagi. Dado says the Spurs goalkeeper is a nervous wreck. I think Fraser Forster's in goal for them because Guillermo Vicario is out for the long term, mate. So I'm fairly sure that it's Fraser Forster in goal for Spurs at this moment in time. Yes, it is. So it'll be Fraser Forster, the former Celtic goalkeeper, in goal for Spurs on Thursday night. I'm sure our fans will remind him of that. Sure, this is Hagi's last year of his contract. So yeah, I mean, Hagi's definitely one. I think a decision has to be made with Janis Hagi. I think he's proving Clement wrong. Clement, I think, didn't want him in the team, pushed him out, forced him out. We've got to put something to Hagi. We've got to keep hold of him. He's a quality player, and look, I've spoke up for him absolutely loads in this. His contract expires in 2026. We are in the final for a reason. We shouldn't mob, take the game to them. They hate being put under pressure. Get those challenges and let them know they're in for a game. I agree, 100%. Needed to get, yeah, we do, absolutely, Janet. He is our Davy Weir, our new Davy Weir. Still not convinced it was only St John's after. It was actually Ross County, mate. Fitness is improving, it certainly is. Worry for me is, can you depend on Hagi and Danilo over long term considering injury histories? That's a decent point, mate. That is a very good point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lots of love for Hagi. Hagi's been fantastic. I think Hagi's made a massive difference to this team since he's come into the team. I mean, if you look at what Janis Hagi brings to Rangers in terms of, what he's actually done since he's come into the team, back into the team. And one of the things that's kind of, he's getting better game on game as his match sharpness is getting there. And I think, we've got to remember that he came from playing just B team football. He came from just training with the B team to actually been in then with the A team. So as his match sharpness is getting there, you're starting to see him improve game by game. What you are seeing is the kind of control that he brings, the talent in passing the ball, and he uses the ball so much quicker than everyone else. He sees a pass, he opens the defence, he just helps this team to tick and his team to move, and that is absolutely key for me. In terms of how he plays and what he does and what he brings to our side. He really is a different class player, and I think you can't underestimate what Janis Hagi has brought to this side in terms of when he comes back. His ability to unlock a defence, his ability to link with Tierney, to link with Hamza, to link with Danilo. It just means we're so much more fluid. We're so much more dynamic going forward. And I think the one thing that was happening perhaps under Tom Lawrence, that when Tom Lawrence was playing there, was the football was getting slowed down time after time. Whereas, Hagi's been called slow in the past. The ball doesn't slow down when it comes to him. He's not a player who will hang on to a ball for too long because he knows he's not got the ability to dribble past someone and leave them for dead because that's not his game. So he gets it, he uses it. He gets it, he uses it. He puts a ball in. He moves it on quickly. He pushes it back. He pushes it forwards. He creates space with the way he plays. And when you're up against a low block, that is absolutely, the thing that we need to do. Now, Derek says here, Hagi is coming into a period of consistency from his red card. I think he'll be showcasing his European skills. It's such a shame he's not in the European squad. I would love to see Janis Hagi playing in the Europa League. Ange and Clement have something in common. Square pegs in round holes. Yeah, in terms of that. Yeah, I mean, Ewan, good point. He does have only one major injury, which is that ACL injury. So I think, to say that he's got injury baggage is a little bit harsh on him. I hope that Clement doesn't think Tav should be thrown into the Spurs game or the cup final. He'll get targeted and found out. Look, I think, Stuart, you make a very good point there. Now, Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I was impressed with Tav today. I thought Tav played well today. I thought he did a good game today, and he got his goal, and he did well today. So fair play. Well done, James Tavernier today. But I think, even the most ardent of Tav fans, even the most, pro Tav Rangers fans out there, and even those, that sit here and say, well, he's improved in the last couple of games. Yeah, he probably has improved in the last couple of games. And yeah, maybe how him been dropped has given him a kick up the arse and he's sorting himself out a little bit. But the fact remains that I genuinely don't feel that. I mean, forget the Spurs game on Thursday for a minute, 'cause I don't know whether Hyung Son Min will play. But going forward to next Sunday up against them, Dyson Maida, we've seen time after time after time after time, Dyson Maida terrify the crap out of Tav. It's like Dyson Maida has the ownership papers on James Tavernier, that he owns Tav. He's got Tav in his back pocket. And my worry is that Clement will see Tav's form over the last couple of games and play Tav in the final, and Dyson Maida will absolutely rip him a new one again. And that is my big worry. And that's not saying that because I hate Tav or that I don't want to play because I don't like him. I'm saying it for tactical reasons. You're going up against Dyson Maida, who has that past history of running past Tav for fun in the last few Old Firm games. So it's about showing a football intelligence and saying to James Tavernier, look, you've done well in the last couple of games, but I'm going to go with Sterling in this game because tactically it suits us better. Do I think it'll happen? No. Do I think Tav starts in the cup final? Yes, because he's the captain. So I do think he'll start the cup final. Do I think Dyson Maida will rip him a new one? Yes, I do think Dyson Maida will absolutely rip him a new one. Remember, folks, hit that like. Thank you very much, Rangers for life. Hagi's making Clement look like a complete dick for saying we didn't need him. He is looking, yeah, absolutely. We are getting Spurs at a good time. The defence is not good, but they have 3 top players up front. Absolutely. 100% on that one. If we played Hagi every game, we wouldn't be 11 points behind. Clement's bad management has cost us 2 league titles. I think had Hagi been able to play all season, I think it would have made a big difference. Absolutely agree with that. Still would not start Tav v Celtic. No, I wouldn't. Although if I was picking the team for the game against Celtic next Sunday, I would go with Butland, Sterling, Souttar, Balogun, Hjefte, Raskin, Barron, Hagi, Tierney, Hamza and Danilo. That's what I would go with. If that was me picking the squad, that's how I would go with it for Celtic. Do I think he'll go with that? No. I think he'll start with Tav at right back, Souttar, Balogun, Hjefte, Barron, Raskin, Dio. I think he'll go with Tierney. I think he'll go with Hagi, and I think he'll go with 1 striker. I don't think he'll go with 2 strikers against Celtic, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, but I think most of those were ACL, mate, ACL related. So I don't think that that we can kind of. Yeah, it's like Rocky going against Mayweather. I have my own European fixture coming up on top 11, 6 minutes in the league. I'm joint on top on 18 points. Well done, you. Absolutely. Do we still want to sell Hagi if an offer comes in January? No, not a chance, Scott. I don't think we can. I think it would be a big mistake to sell Hagi. Hagi not playing wasn't solely a football decision. Off a poor year in Spain, the wage rise and the horizon made it a difficult decision. That's a good point. Would you start Hjefte on the left wing and Spurs, Yilmaz left back and the Iggerman up front? Robert, that's a decent shout. That would certainly give us a more solid look, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I think you can make a very good point there. I really do. If you went in with that sort of, Sterling, Souttar, proper, Yilmaz, Barron, Raskin, Dio, Hjefte left, Tierney right, Hamza up top. I think that's a decent side. And I think it gives us a solidity there. It certainly does. Now, like I said, I don't really know how strong Spurs will go in this game. I mean, if you look at their last European tie they played, their draw with Roma. Let's get things right. Roma are a decent side. They are a decent team, Roma. But the Spurs in the last game, they went with Foster and goal. Obviously, they were pretty much full strength for that game. Porro, Dragusin, Davis, Gray, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Sarr, Son, Solanke, and Brennan Johnson. But I think you make a good point there. You look at the right side of Spurs attack, and you've got Kulusevski, you've got Johnson and Porro. They're going to come after us a lot. Spurs out wide on the left-hand side are threatening anyway. You look at them on the left, and they are very threatening. They really are. So left side and right side, they'll come at us. So, left side, Udogie, Sarr and Son will go at Tav, and Porro, Kulusevski and Johnson will go at the left side. So I think, Robert, you make a very interesting point. I think it's a decent point. I think going like that against them when you've got, you've got that situation with Udogie, with Sarr and with Son on the left, and you've got Porro, Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson, Brennan Johnson's in top form on the right hand side. They do carry a lot of threat. I'll give you that for definite. Thoughts on Tavernier, but I think he's played well in the last 2 games. He has played well in the last 2 games, Andy. I agree with that. Against Kilmarnock and against Ross County, and that's where you've got to kind of leave that. It's against Kilmarnock and Ross County, and he's done well. He's done well. 2 goals in 2 games. Very good. Would I start James Tavernier against Spurs? No. Would I start James Tavernier in the final against Celtic? No. I don't think it's sensible. Maybe start him against Spurs because you're kind of saying that game doesn't matter as much. Yeah, Spurs have got a good midfield. You are right that. Spurs fans are calling for Angie's heads. Janet says Tav's had a good couple of games, but not good enough to start the next 2 games. I believe it was a sore one for Tav to accept, but he was past his continual weekly best and resisted being dropped. What else have we got here? Good evening, Michael. How you doing? Good evening, Owen. A couple of wins. Let's not get too carried away yet. We just haven't played anyone substantial. Next 2 games with a test. Come on, Rangers. Absolutely. 100%. Robert Rankin, welcome to the back to the channel. But yeah, in terms of Tav's form, nothing against him. He's played well the last couple of games. I'll give you that. He has played well the last couple of games. I think he's done well. I think he has done well. But like I said, I don't think that's enough to start him against Celtic. I really think that to start Tav against Celtic would be a huge, huge error. I really do. Finish that last poll. Hamza 79%, Dessa's 21%. Let's start a new poll, okay? Just a simple yes/no poll. Would you start Tav versus Celtic in the final up against Maida? That's the poll. It's a new poll, guys, going up now. Please vote in that poll. So yeah, would you start Tav on Sunday against them? I personally wouldn't. I personally would not start him against them. As good as he's been, he has played well the last. I'm not going to sit here and bury my head in the sand about Tav. He has played well the last couple of games, but you still do not start him against Celtic. Absolutely not. Gaza says 2 games to make or break the season. If we get beat, does this team fall apart again? That is a big question, a massive question. We will get to that. Yeah, I was, mate. I've been working. I had to go into work today. Unfortunately, I did. Robert. As I said, mate, on the video this morning, my ambition is to do this full time. I want to do this full time so I can bring you live watch-alongs of every single game, that I can bring you 2 times daily live streams, that I can bring you daily videos, that we can be constantly talking Rangers. Mate, it's like basically a 24-hour rolling Rangers news channel. But at the moment, I can't because I'm having to work 50, 60 hours a week to survive. So there we go. Robert says here, cheers, Owen. I would love to see Bayrami at 10 rather than Dio. Dio is more a 6. Bayrami's been playing on the wing due to shortage in that area. I want to see Bayrami in his natural position. Absolutely spot on, mate. So do I. I mean, look, that's a possibility on Thursday night. With the fact that Janis Hagi is out, maybe you do put Bayrami in the 10 role and you push someone else out wide left. That's a decent shout, definitely. Do I think he'll do that? No, I don't. But I think you've made a really good point there, Robert. A really, really good point. Now, look, I'm going to talk. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening at this moment in time, okay? Let's get this point here from Spinning Flipbird. Says, I'm still of the opinion the team is in pieces now. I think this week will be the reality check rather than a new dawn. Any mistakes by Tav are magnified because of the previous mistakes in the Old Firm games. Very true. I mean, looking at the poll at the moment that's running, you've got 12% of you would start him in the final. Interesting. 11% now. 89% of you would not start him in the final. Interesting. Gaza says, who starts over Tav during the week? Sterling can't play more than 2 games at a time. Fitness is a massive problem with him. Absolutely agree with that. Now, personally, Gazas, if it came to a direct choice for me, I would start Tav on Thursday night, and I would start Sterling on Sunday. Because absolutely, I think that Sterling up against Maida gives you a lot more confidence because he's quicker, he's stronger, he's more agile, he's more likely to be able to keep up with Maida, and Maida's not likely to be able to get in it behind him. So yeah, I would definitely go with him. But look, I mean, let's take it, like I said at the start of the video, the start of this podcast, in all competitions in our last 5 games, we've scored 15 goals. So we're averaging 3 goals a game in our last 5 games. It's a lot better. It's an awful lot better. We've won 4, drawn 1. That was against Dundee United. We've scored 15. We've conceded only 2. We beat Nice 4-1, Killy 6-0, 3-0 today. Beat St Johnstone 1-0. There's some good results in there. But I think, a lot of you are kind of thinking along the same lines here, if I'm kind of reading the chat right, is that, as much as we're seeing a better team now, we're seeing more urgency, we're seeing more fluidity to the game, we're seeing more link-up play, more movement, more clinicalness in front of goal, a better, chances to goals rate. We're seeing better football, more entertaining football, and we're seeing a better level of football, certainly. Now, do I think that that's got to be put into a bit of perspective? Yeah, of course it is. Look, I'm not going to sit here tonight, as happy as I am with the results, as positive as I am about the 6-0 over Killy, the 3-0 over Ross County, the 4-1 over Nice, which are all brilliant results. Don't get me wrong, absolutely brilliant. And I'm so happy about those results, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, that Rangers are shit. I'm not saying that Rangers are playing rubbish football, because they're quite clearly not, okay? But what I am saying, guys, is this. I'm saying that what we need to do is we need to kind of and look at it in a bit of isolation. Take it and look at it in terms of, look, let's compare it with where we are at this moment in time in terms of the game. Where are we at with this? Have we played anyone? Have we played, anyone of a top level? No, not yet. No, not yet. So I think a lot of you are right. Look, I don't want to say forget Spurs, because the Europa League is important. Progressing in the Europa League for me is important because we need the money. We need the money. But the whole test of where we are at this moment in time, the whole test of Rangers as a revival, Rangers as this club that are now turning the corner, that are playing good football, that are looking like scoring goals, that are threatening, that are playing some good stuff. The whole premise of that, I think, depends on what happens next Sunday. It really does. Now, if we were to go into that game, play as well as we can play, and we beat them, then great. Then I'd say yes. Yes, we have turned the corner. 100% we've turned the corner. Absolutely, we've turned the corner. But if we go into that game next week and we get beat yet again, and I don't care if it's a hard luck story or we played well, we still got beat. It's the whole getting beat, because next week's not just about winning. It's not just about putting in a performance. It's about changing a mentality for me. And at the moment, we are light years behind Celtic financially. We are light years behind them in terms of players. But it's about changing mentality at the club. And the whole mentality for me, as at the moment, as a fan sitting here, watching on, looking on at this club, is that they have a bit of an evil eye over us. They have a bit of control there. They see Rangers as their plaything. They see Rangers as been the Espanyol to their Barcelona, to the 1860 Munich to their Bayern Munich, the Atletico Madrid to their Real Madrid, the Manchester City to our Man United, the Everton to their Liverpool. That's what they see. That's what they see. We've got to start to change that mentality. Yeah? We've got to start to change that mentality. And to me, turning the corner next week and showing that we've turned the corner comes in the view of a win. And it's got to be a win. It's got to be a win. Not only to win the cup and stop them going ahead of us in terms of trophies won, but also to start to lay down a marker and say to them, yes, we might not win the league this season, but we're back. And we're a threat to you. If we come out of that game next week and they batter us or we lose, even if we play well and lose, it means nothing. it means absolutely nothing because they're still going to have beaten us. They're going to still come out and say, well, it doesn't matter, does it? We beat Rangers every time we play them, so it's not even worth worrying about them anymore. For me, next week is a mentality changer. It's a chance to change a mentality. You know, it's got to be a chance to change the mentality. Stuart says, remember we had a £6 million striker in Danilo against Ross County. We need a bit of perspective on our performances, which is what I'm saying, Stuart. We need to take the games in isolation. Have we played better football? Yes. Have we played well? Yes. Have we put teams away like Ross County, like Kelly, like people expect us to? Yes. So we've done what is expected of us, but now we've got to take that on and, you know, start to change the mentality, start to win old firm games. Hi, Bob. How you doing, buddy? Bob, one of our best commenters. Look, got brilliant. If you ever want to read a good comment on one of the videos, read one of Bob's comments, quality. Yeah, we will always be judged about that at the old firm games. They don't care about us. That's why Sunday is so important. Tav, not captain. How mentality sums him up in the old firms. Yeah, absolutely, totally agree about the septic game, Owen. Absolutely, it is. You know, yeah, it is about beating them and laying down a marker. I don't want to come out of next week's game sitting here talking to you on a Sunday going, well, we played well, didn't we? We actually had a real good go at them. We actually played really, really well, but we lost. Because I'll tell you something, it doesn't really matter. I couldn't give a shit. I couldn't give a shit if we go out and play badly next week, scrap a 1-0, win the cup with a 1-0. Because at the end of the day, that starts to change your mentality. Because the moment you beat them, the moment you put a chink in their armour, they're going to start to panic. They're going to start to think, shit, they can beat us now. They couldn't beat us before. You know, even when they were starting to get better, they still couldn't beat us. You know, you look at the record against them. It's not good. The record against them is not good. I mean, if you look at the record against them over the last few games, in terms of results, in terms of results against them, our results record against them is really actually poor against them. It really is. You know, in terms of the last few games. I mean, let me just quickly find it for you. I'm going to bring it up on the screen. I'll try and do a share in a minute. Let me get some of your comments first. Get the monkey. Yeah, it's about getting the monkey off our backs. Absolutely. Raskin and Barron and Dio need to turn up in the final. I think he'll go Raskin, Barron, Hagi. That's what I would go with. So true. Got to win this. Sorry to say scary. It's coming next 5 years. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Dessers is to come on and score the winner from a Tav assist. That would be hilarious, man. But yeah, I'll take it, mate. Take it all day long. You know what? When it comes to playing against them, I don't give a shit who scores. I don't give a shit how we beat them. As long as we beat them, that's the key thing, isn't it? That's the key thing. As long as we beat them, because like a lot of you, like you've just said there, it's about getting a monkey off our back, isn't it? It's about, you know, actually winning a game against them and actually starting to turn the corner. That's when Start again. Take that, reverse it. That's about when the corner gets turned, isn't it? That's when the corner gets turned. Right, let's have a quick look at these results against them. Okay, this is against them. I'm going to bring this up on the screen now, guys, for you. And we're going to do a share and we're going to look at it. Gaza, brilliant point. No more moral victories, and it's our mentality, not theirs, that matters. They can afford to lose the cup and still be happy after 11 points. It's about us. Yeah, and it's about us changing mentality. It's about us starting to show that we can beat them, because I genuinely feel with some of our players, they don't think that we can beat them. They don't think we can beat Celtic. You know, they genuinely don't believe we can put Celtic away. They genuinely believe that Celtic are this unbeatable side that cannot be beaten. And they do have that. They are a monkey on our back. They absolutely are a monkey on our back. Airwolf says Hamza is the type of player that won't be phased. I agree with you on that one. Right, this is the stats against them. Let's have a little look through that. And this is Airwolf's point. That's a great point from Airwolf there. Brilliant point from Airwolf. Okay, so looking at their results. Looking at the results, right? Looking at the results. Looking at this results. Here we go. So, I mean, look at that results record. It's not a good one, is it? It really isn't a good one. I mean, the last victory over them is that 3-0 in that game that didn't really matter, the Beale game. You know, taking that out for a minute, we lost 3-0 to them, we lost 1-0 to them, we lost 2-1, so we drew 3-3 with them, we lost 2-1, we lost 1-0. We won 3-0, but in that game that didn't really matter in terms of there was nothing riding on it. We lost 1-0, we lost 3-2, we lost 2-1, 2-2, 1-1. I mean, the last time you can argue that we actually beat Celtic when something was really genuinely riding on it was that 2-1 in the Scottish Cup semi-final when Gio was the manager 2 years ago. I mean, that's genuinely dreadful that our last big victory over our big rivals was 2 years ago. And in the league, you've got to go back to 2021 for our last victory over them, 1-0, when it actually mattered. So, it's about starting to turn that around. I mean, you can quite categorically say their dominance over us is pretty massive over the last few games. It really is. Bob says, if Igman can have another strike like he did today, there will be nothing any team, including Celtic, can do about it. Agreed on that point. It was the same under Gerrard and Hagi, Igman and Danilo. Czerny playing without pressure. I'm afraid that confidence comes from the captain and we haven't got one. Well, we have if we put Butland or Souttar as captain, Stuart. Gaz says, I don't think our squad think they can beat Celtic. Clement's record is 4 defeats. When was the last major important victory for our victory over them? Well, as we just said, it was 2022 in the Scottish Cup semi-final. That's when it was. Hib should have put 3 past him in the first 15 minutes. Our big rivals Aberdeen now. That's the fact, says Gaza. If you are watching the game, watching this live stream, Tav have a day off on Sunday. Mate, I very much doubt that Tav will actually do will actually do anything there with that one. If I had a monkey on my back last night, not my best moment I've had. Very weird, Robert. But there again, they mostly beat us by 1 goal, so it's not that good. No, but it's still a win, isn't it? Whether they beat us 5-0, 6-0, or 2-1 or 1-0, doesn't matter. They've still beaten us. The scoreline doesn't really matter, does it? It's more about, for me, actually starting to turn that, get rid of that monkey, get rid of it. Have at Five Guys having dinner, is he? There you go. I didn't know that. Having the Five Guys and have some dinner. But, it is about starting to turn. Now, the reason I'm making this point, getting back to why I started to make this point was, yes, today was very good. Yes, it was another victory. Yes, we've done very well today. That's absolutely spot on. Of course it is. But, for me, it's not. It's about now starting to show that this dawn is not a false one. Starting to show that this dawn is a genuine one. That we genuinely, have got the ability to get the monkey off our back. To show people that we are a team to be reckoned with again. That we are, as Chris Boyd says, be afraid. Rangers are back. I mean, you look at the games upcoming for Rangers. You've got Tottenham and Celtic. Then it's Dundee, St Mirren, Motherwell, and it's Celtic again on the 2nd of January. So this is a big run of games for us. It really genuinely is. And this is where we're going to prove ourselves, hopefully, that this form that we're seeing against these so-called lesser teams can be translated into the same form against these better teams, starting on Thursday night against Tottenham. Stuart says, would love to see us playing 2 strikers, mix up a bit and put pressure on their defence. Stuart, I've got to say, I've said this all along. If you look in Europe and you look at them in Europe, yes, look, fair play to them. They're having a good season in Europe this season. But when they're not as good in Europe is when teams go at them, when teams have a right go at them. Yeah. And that's what we're missing. That's what we're missing. We need to go out there and do that on Sunday. Igman will nutmeg and run rings around CCV with the size of his legs. Isn't he injured at the moment? Need to keep 11 men on the park. No stupid mistakes. Agreed. Robert says, I think we will win the final. I really do, says Robert Rankin. Robert, I hope so. I certainly hope so. Sid, Cortez must be close. Now, both Cortez and Matondo have trained, Sid. That's what the manager said in his presser the other day, but I don't think he will start either of them. I don't think he'll throw either of them in either. I think it's going to be Dundee before we even see Cortez and Matondo again, as much as I don't want to do it. No, I didn't get it. Mate, I'm too tired to get the fucking joke. Too tired to get the joke. What was the joke, Robert? Let's have a look. I had a monkey on my back last night. Not the best one I've had. No, I still don't get it. Okay, you'll have to explain it to me. I'm being thick. Sid, try the best to get one of our players sent off. They always do. Agreed. Absolutely. The worst mistake we could make on Sunday is to sit back and let them come at us. We have to get right into them. Bob, that's one of the big weaknesses for me is the fact that we've sat back against them and we don't go at them and we don't attack them. They're really happy for us to have the ball in our own half and play passy between the centre backs and to the number 6 and back to the centre backs and to the wingers, to the full backs and then back to the centre backs. They're happy for us to have 60-70% possession doing that. It's only when they come forward that they'll smash us again on the counter. That's absolutely the way they'll play against us. And we haven't got to do that. We've got to go straight at them. Is our midfield good enough to play two up front against them? Yeah, I think it is. I don't think I don't honestly think, Stuart, that their midfield this season is as good as their midfield last season. You know, if you look at their midfield this season, you know, in terms of who started their last game for them, I don't actually know who started for them on the other night, because I don't watch Celtic games for obvious reasons. But you know, if you look at their lineup against Hibs, they went with McGregor, Engels, and McCowan. You know, I wouldn't say that, you know, McCowan is any better than Barron and Raskin. I wouldn't. You know what? I'd even take Raskin over McGregor. I really would. Engels, I think, is a good player. You know, but you don't pay £11 million for a shit player, so he is a decent player. But you know, that midfield this season, McCowan, McGregor, and Engels isn't as good as Hatate, McGregor, and O'Reilly. So I don't think their midfield is as good. Now I think if we go in with Barron, Raskin, and Hagi, I think that is can match up to them. I really do. I really do. I know Janet Kyogo diving, McGregor moaning at the ref. We've got to just play. What we've got to do, Sid, and everyone, is take the game out of the ref's hands. Not allow the ref to have an effect on the game. So no stupid tackles, no silly fouls, no giving them even a sniff of a dive in the box. We've got to take all of that away from the ref and just play the game and create our chances, take our chances. When our chances come, we've got to take them. Yeah, that would be good, Bobby. Absolutely. That's a good shout. Agreed. Sit Barron or Raskin on McGregor. That's a good shout. I think you'd sit Barron on McGregor. You'd sit Barron on McGregor and keep Raskin as the base to our midfield to protect our back four. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he is. Let's remember, Septic are not Real Madrid lads and lassies. Have a go. Yeah, agreed. Yes, he is. Sterling's got to play right back against Celtic. He really does. Look, I agree. This is a brilliant point by Robert. I think this is the issue we've got as a team and as a club and as a set of fans with Celtic. That there's too much of this seeing them as this unbeatable force, this unstoppable force that that you just cannot get after. You've got to go up against them. You've got to have a go at them because any team are beatable. We're seeing down south here in England that any team are beatable on their day. Manchester City are in shockingly bad form because teams are actually having a go at them this season. Newcastle should have beaten Liverpool the other night. We're seeing teams having a go at these so-called top teams in England down here, and nobody's unbeatable. Nobody is unbeatable. The player to watch is Maida. Stop him and they slow down. Agreed. I think he's the one that can cause us a lot of danger. Tav plays at right back. Get into those stuck into those unwatched dims forward for the final. I will be there. Fantastic, Billy. But look, I mean, we've got to take, moving away from Sunday, next Sunday, which I know is going to be the forefront of all of our minds, throughout most of the week. We've got to take it in terms of, yes, we've only beaten teams like Ross County and Kilmarnock and St Johnstone, but let's take the positives out of these games. 1, we've played well. 2, we've got more ability to attack. 3, we've been more clinical. 4, we're seeing better link-up play. 5, we're seeing more movement. We're seeing a better calibre of football. Now, it doesn't matter who you play. You can only beat what's in front of you. You've got to show that improvement, and Rangers have shown that improvement. And, fair play to them. Aberdeen missed a sitter last week. Hibs should have had 3. Bruges battered them at home. They aren't that good. We've got to get after them. Celtic play the Russian army way, absorb the attack, and then attack. Fair enough. Big Leon to start Sunday. I would love Big Leon. I love Big Leon. I do. I'm a massive Big Leon fan. He's one of my favourite players at this moment in time. He really genuinely is. But yeah, I agree. We've got to have a go at them. But we've got to take the positive out of this few performances and take it forward, moving forward, positivity about the game. Yes, if we go and get battered on Thursday night and then battered in the cup final, it does change things. Of course it does. But it's about making sure we don't allow that to happen. But as I said, it is about making sure that we actually change the mentality next Sunday, and we prove that these results have not been a flash in the pan. 100% correct. Balogun was Bob's man of the match today. Balogun is class. I love Balogun. He's a top lad. Just let's get some heads up, guys, to what is upcoming this week on the channel. We've got a lot coming up for you on the channel this week, so please check it out. Let's have a little look at what we've got upcoming. I'm going to bring the schedule up on my phone so I can check it out and let you know what it is we've got coming up for you this week. So we've got, obviously, once we get tonight out of the way, so tomorrow night we go live at 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock tomorrow night. It is the massive week for Rangers podcast. We look ahead to the week upcoming for Rangers. So join us for that. Also upcoming this week at 1:35 on Wednesday, we've got a podcast on Wednesday as well. We've got an afternoon podcast and an evening podcast on Wednesday. So obviously please come and join us for that. Plenty coming up for you this week, so come and join us for all of that. You know what the best way to do that is? Just smash the sub, ring the bell, and you never miss out on the free content. Hoping Ange doesn't get sacked, so we can hopefully chant getting sacked in the morning on Thursday. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Poetic. Hopefully we get a fight penalty in the. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, mate? Can you imagine the absolute meltdown if that was to happen? Huge. Just huge. That would be absolutely massive, wouldn't it? Could you imagine the conspiracy theories about that? That'd be just, incredible. It really would. Right, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for coming on the Match Reaction Pod tonight. Thank you for all of your involvement in the pod. As always, guys, on the way out, please smash the like, drop a comment on the video, share, subscribe, do all that fantastic stuff for me. But remember always, please never forget, we are the people.